But I can yell at the Democratic Party, and I can tell them where they can at least make one fucking small change to stop pissing me the fuck off every hour right now. Stop sending me fundraising requests right now, okay? The Republican Party had a plan for the last 50 years to overturn Roe v. Wade. We had a leak 5 weeks ago telling us that this exact thing was going to happen, and your response after 5 weeks of careful study and planning and thought has been to send us nonstop fundraising emails. All right? So let me just read you a quick list. Mark Warner. He's the Democratic senator from Virginia. He's worth $214.1 million. Don Beyer, he's a Democratic Virginia House member. He's worth $124.9 million. Dean Phillips, he's a Minnesota House member. He is worth $123.8 million. Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker of the fucking House of the Democratic Party from California, is worth $114.7 million. Dianne Feinstein, who doesn't know where the fuck she is right now, the senator from California, part of the Democratic Party, is worth $87.9 million. Million. You guys want money? Fucking call your guy. You call him every week to do insider trading. Stop fucking sending me emails. Stop sending me fucking texts. Stop fucking reading poems and singing goddamn karaoke. You have power. You have it. You're in those seats. We're the ones who are powerless. Stop fucking pretending you're protesting. If you don't want to fucking do it or it's too hard, fucking retire. You're rich as shit. You don't need to do anything. If I had $114.7 million, Nancy Pelosi, you know what I do? First thing, I get my fucking husband a driver so he doesn't get a goddamn DUI. Second thing, you know what I'd do? I'd be on a fucking boat. $114.7 million. And you want to send me a fucking...
What's up, guys? How you doing? Happy 4th of July weekend, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. I know probably most of you are out up north or someplace nice, but thank you all for joining us tonight for our weekly live stream. We've got a big update on our website. We just dropped our incumbent report card listing all of the horrible votes that so many of these people have been casting over the last year and a half. And it's about that time, right? Because it's the primary season coming up. There's a reason they call it the primary. So, hey, welcome back, Amber, by the way, to the show. It's the two of us tonight. I think Cynthia was doing family stuff, and Shane, I think, is up north somewhere. So Daniel Lawless says brutal report cards. Yeah, we're going to look at those. That's going to probably be most of the show tonight, guys. I think we're just going to do kind of a short stream because, frankly, I mean, it's a holiday weekend, and there's just kind of less going on. Although, of course, you folks running for office, it is the full heat of the campaign season for you guys. So glad you guys joined us to kick back after a long day knocking on doors, I hope. And the legislature finally wrapped up their session last Thursday, and thank God we get a break from them for a couple months and we get to hold their feet to the fire. So how are you doing, Amber? What's the latest going on in Oakland County? You've always got a million things happening at once.
Oh yeah. Just a lot of fundraisers, a lot of, candidates trying to handhold school board candidates. We have, competing slates going on the Republican side to, for school boards, and everybody's just all up in arms. Yeah. And a lot of that, but a lot of interest.
That there's competing slates within the Republican Party for school board. Like, why don't you guys just pick who wants to run the hardest campaign? Because it's not like you're up against weak opposition, that school board. If people think the school board races are like the easiest way to get into politics, you guys don't know what's coming. Because those school boards have teachers unions behind them. Those are professional operatives, and they have funding, and they have influence, in a lot of ways. So those are going to be tough races. And I just don't get it, honestly. Like, we've got in my congressional district, it's the Debbie Dingell seat, which is like hopelessly Democratic. And we've got multiple candidates running on the Republican side. Like, why? Why don't you guys sort this out? Because one of you is not going to, whoever wins the primary is going to lose in the general. So, I mean, I don't know what's the incentive for people to.
What's crazy is the people that think that they're going to win. And I say that just like, why and how? I just don't get it. I'm all for optimism, but I'm for realism as well. So we'll see how it plays out. But
Yeah, I mean, the rule in politics is you have to run like you're 10 points behind, no matter what the reality is, because you never know, folks. And you, if you think your opponents are slacking off, you'd be surprised. And maybe your primary opponents might be, but your Democrat opponents aren't going to be. Although that video was nice, I do like to see that the Democrats feel as angry about their party as we do. So
yeah, that's true.
but I think we're probably more right about that. At the end of the day, the Democrats do have a machine.
They have, yeah, we were just talking about this. It's the machine. I had a interesting phone call and I'm getting asked these questions. I go, no, we don't have that. No, we don't have, what is that? We don't have that in place. So I want to do a book. Let's like all have a playbook and let's share it. But we keep all of our stuff really close to our chest as Republicans, or, it's sad. And that's probably why we'll always lose.
Yeah.
But
Not
Oakland County,
always,
we have
but
a
we'll see.
crap ton. Well, and that's the thing is she goes, how do you guys win any elections? I go, because we're on the right side. We are on the right side. Our positions are good. We care about fiscal, your pocket, your money in your pocket. We're Republicans, but we lose because we're horrible at organizing. That's right. So.
Yeah, William Hamilton on YouTube says, I sure found out in 2020 just how hard it is to run for a school board. I ran for Lapeer School Board. There you go, folks. I mean, it takes a lot of energy and running, and a lot of people don't realize how important fundraising is in a campaign, and a lot of candidates just don't want to do it because it's hard to make phone calls. It's hard to ask everybody you've ever known for a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
But it's what makes the difference ultimately, because you have to win the votes of thousands of people.
And in all fairness, with fundraising, if you can't make those phone calls and get people to believe in you as a candidate to run for something, and you don't believe in yourself, you probably shouldn't run for office.
Yeah, but anyway, all right. Well, enough dooming for now. Let's talk about.
I have more. No, but tomorrow we're gonna have a 4th of July parade in Milford. I'm heading up Tammy's Milford 4th of July parade, so that's gonna be fun. Pass out candy, do some waving.
Oh, sweet. Those are always cool.
Yeah.
They're often a lot of work, but they can be fun too.
Yeah.
But I'm going to a candidate's 4th of July picnics or barbecue, so that'll be good too.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So anyway, all right. I wanted to talk about our incumbent report card, which we just dropped today. Actually, we just put it out in email. If you think there's something that we really neglected and didn't put on it, then let us know. I think I actually still have got to link this from our main homepage, but for those of you who are watching, you probably get our email blast, and we just blasted it out today with the link to it. And boy, if you look through, there's a lot of red ink on this report card, folks. A lot of it. There's a whole big number of bills. Most of them were votes in both chambers. Some of them were just in the House. Some of them were just in the Senate. But you can see all the candidates. Well, I'm sorry, not the candidates. The incumbents, who are all listed in various shades of red, are in the negatives, and the ones that are positive are in green.
Wow.
And there are only, out of 148 lawmakers, only 14 of them that are better than zero. So
wow.
Congratulations to Jim Runstead, Lana Tice, Tom Barrett. We have a Democrat on this list too. I want to reach out to Yusuf and see if he'll do our show sometime. I knew him from back in college, but let me finish the list here. Matt Maddock, John Riley, Steve Cara, Steve Johnson, Michelle Hoydinga, Sue Aller, Bola Fave limping in with 10 points there. Luke Meerman got 30. And where's Yusuf? Oh, Andrew Fink got 30 points. It's barely showing his green, but he did get above zero. Pam Humber didn't quite make it to zero. Where is Robbie?
Yeah, he's right there. Up.
Thank you. Yeah, there he is. Democrat got a solid 60 points. How did that work, folks? Well, I think part of it is Patty P says, did you score the Dems too? Yes, we did. And they scored, I think, an average of like 70 points less than the Republicans did. But I mean, it just shows you why people are so frustrated in politics, that this is the difference between the two parties. And you've got some Republicans at, look at this guy, minus 390. This guy, we thought when he was running for office, he was going to be a good conservative. His district is Rochester Hills, right next to John Riley's seat. And look at this, minus 350. but the way a lot of the way that Rep Robbie managed to get into the positive territory is that one thing that got scored heavily in this survey is a lot of corporate welfare schemes. And there's like a minority in both parties that are generally opposed to it. And the Democrats in some cases may have their own reasons. But anyway, yeah, I'd like to talk to Yusuf Rabi. He's in his third term now. He's termed out. But he
Where's
and
he
I
at?
Ann Arbor. Yeah, he and I used to protest the war on the street corner at 5th and Liberty, the post office. So, we've went our separate ways over the years, but he really does mean well, as, which maybe some Democrats honestly do. And Robbie somehow became the minority floor leader for his second 2 terms, which usually the principled ones are the ones that never get to leadership. So figure that one out. I don't know.
That's kind of cool.
But, so yeah, I'd love to have him on the show sometime. I'll have to reach out to his office maybe maybe after the holiday. Although who knows? I've heard that Democrats in Lansing are never ever in their office anymore. They're not even checking their voicemails. They are just not there. So, and now that they're on the break, I'm sure they won't be, but maybe he'll talk to me. So we'll see. Anyway, yeah, there are some really bad turkeys on this list, folks. And some of them do have primary challengers, some don't. I thought about maybe because some of these people got in recently from special elections.
Yeah, I saw Mike Harris.
Yeah. So he just has fewer votes on the board than anyone else does because he wasn't in office when most of these votes were taken. And I thought about maybe grading them more harshly because they're pulling from a smaller pool of votes, but I didn't, at the end of the day, get around to it. It's kind of tricky programming to do all that kind of stuff. But
was this help with the Watchdog? Did Watchdog help with this?
Yeah, we reached out to them and asked them about some bills, and some of them that they brought up to my attention, we ended up putting on here too.
That's awesome.
But we got a variety of bills on here covering a lot of issues. And I thought maybe about elaborating on some of these too. Because some of these issues might not be a lot of these issues are not like really in our core issue cluster. Obviously our main things at Rescue Michigan are election integrity and opposing the lockdowns and things like that. Mm-hmm. But some of these other issues, they're not core issues. And I know any 2 given people don't agree on every single issue under the sun. So some of you guys might not agree with what our positions are on some of these bills. So I did want to go through them and kind of talk it out a little bit. Tim Kuhn on Facebook says, how do I get an email of the reports? And Steven says, I never got an email. Ooh, I might need to update our email list from our website. Because if you signed up on our website, then you might just have not been added into our email list. It doesn't do it automatically. I've got to manually do it. So I'll make sure I do that. Sorry about that. But if you guys want to find this report, you can just, there's the address at the top of the screen. It's just rescuemichigan.com/incumbents.php. It's there. I'll also link this from the homepage after we're done with the stream tonight. But yeah, so let's go over these bills and we'll see how these people did. So first one, and by the way, for each of these, if you move your mouse cursor over them, I guess it's not showing up on the stream, but I see on my screen that it actually writes out more details of what the bills are. I don't know why that doesn't pop up on the screen for me like that, but anyway, it's a really big spreadsheet, by the way, so it's not going to look good on a phone. You got to use your desktop PC or laptop or whatever to open it up. But anyway, so first off, this House Joint Resolution O. Whenever the bill number is an HJR and SJR, that stands for Joint Resolution. That means a constitutional amendment. And what this one is to lengthen the term limits for state lawmakers. Basically, right now, they're allowed to have up to 14 years in office. They can do 3 terms in the House and then 2 terms in the Senate. So possibly a total of 14 years that they can be in Lansing. But for most lawmakers, they only are going to get 6 because there's only 38 seats in the Senate. There's not 110 of them in the House. So a lot of House reps, when they are termed out, they've got to either retire or run for state Senate, and they might have an incumbent in the seat already. They might be running against one another. That often happens. And someone wins and somebody loses. And the loser goes home. And I'll tell you, folks, the Lansing swamp is full of former lawmakers that so desperately miss their job. mean, yeah, the money's better being a lobbyist, but they love the thrill of voting. They love having the all access pass to the Capitol. They love everybody in the district taking them seriously. And they love everyone thinking how smart they are. They love having their ass kissed by all these lobbyists. With few exceptions, they all love being lawmakers. So term limits is an interesting question. There are pluses and minuses, folks. I'm not going to tell you I totally support tight term limits. There are pluses and minuses. One of the minuses is, I'm sorry, Amber, go ahead.
Oh, I just said right. No, you're right.
Yeah. There's, I mean, the bad thing is, well, first let me address the common talking point, which I think is completely ass backwards. Is you'll hear politicians say this all the time. They'll say, well, the problem is we don't really learn how to do our job until after the third term. And that's a bunch of gibberish. That's because to them doing their job means learning how to kiss up to the establishment class, learn how to deal with, you know, the lobbyists and all that kind of stuff. Not about voting on principle, you know, because the reality is most of these votes they're not too complex to understand. They have the policy office that writes the memos that tells them what they do. Voting is a simple moral act, and most of them can't do it well because they're, as you can see, moral derelicts. But there is something to be said for the fact that once they're in that third term or their final term, whatever it is, they can't be pressured by the public anymore unless they're seeking higher office. You can send all the letters you want to someone, but if they're retiring, they don't care. And that's a real problem. In the Senate, they only have 2 terms. And remember, after that November election, that's a lame duck period. And in that period, none of them are accountable to voters anymore because they're either retiring in a month or they just won their last election. And so that is a problem. However, with this particular method of expanding term limits, what they did is the Chamber of Commerce was going to fund a ballot initiative to put this on the ballot, and they were going to spend the millions of dollars to collect the signatures to put this on this constitutional amendment on the ballot. They did this to save the Chamber of Compromise millions of dollars. And because of the way that this is structured, it will allow all these people in the House that realize they have no path to the Senate to get another 6 years in Lansing. It was completely self-serving. It was all for them. And once their terms are up, they're going to have all of these former lawmakers who are now lobbyists who want their old jobs back now that they can get another 3 terms. So I think this was cynical, self-serving, and frankly, distracts from everything else we got to do in November because we're supposed to be trying to get these people elected. And now they got another thing on the ballot, which I intend to spend some time educating people about. So,
absolutely.
So we gave them a -20 if they voted for. The other thing about this too is they threw this out. This bill, this joint resolution, was like not even on Michigan votes before they skipped the committee process. There was no public input. It was just bang, done one day on the ballot. So, and some of these freshmen voted for it too.
Right, it was their first day on the job.
First day on the job, and I mean, think of it. They have no respect for the institution to the point that they think nothing. They think nothing of tampering with the fabric of the state constitution like this.
It's disgusting.
And they probably only heard from one side, heard from the lobbyists, and didn't think twice.
Right.
So there's that one. Next, we have 2 votes actually on cynical racist theory, as I like to call it. We've got Senate Bill 460. This bill never got a vote in the Senate. So the only thing we could do is score positively for people that co-sponsored it, and some of them did. And then in the House, we've got another one, 5097, which did get a vote in the House. And I have a bug on our site because why are these listed as +20s? I think, so here's what happened. Oh, yeah, I definitely did fix this. The reason why this is like this is because the Democrats refused to vote on this bill, which tells you how afraid of it they are. They would not go on record voting no. So I think the software accident, because what it usually does is if you don't vote, it counts it as voting with the majority, which is usually right, but in this case, it's wrong. So, okay, I do have to fix that. So all the Democrats' scores just dropped a good 20, 40 points. Let's see, is Yusuf's still going to survive? Oh, he'll still be at +20. Okay, after that's fixed. So there you go. So that's got it. So good to note. We are not perfect. If you guys catch any other bugs in our system, please do let me know if there's anything else that shows up wrong here. Senate bills 856 to 858, the red flag legislation. This did not get a vote in the Senate. So these are just minus 30 points for each of minus 10 points for each of the three bills that the Democrats co-sponsored. And I also took off an extra 30 points for the primary sponsor of each bill. So Erica Geis, Mallory McMorrow, and Rosemary Bayer each got a minus 30. I don't know if we want to take a lot of time on this. They talked about red flags on the show before, and especially in the context of Lucas Gerhard's upcoming case. We'll talk more about that next week for sure, because his trial is set for a week from tomorrow.
Pretty sure you sent out an email about that too.
Yeah, we did. And we're gonna be talking about that more this week. It's gonna be very turbulent, but we're working to get cameras in that courtroom if they have, if the case goes to trial. We want the whole world to see it, because that's what they're talking about doing, is declaring open season on patriots. Senate Bill 303, require ID to vote. This is a pretty simple one. It just says that if you don't present ID, you have to get a provisional ballot and prove who you are. And it got a vote in the Senate. All the Democrats voted wrong. All the Republicans voted right. So that's a pretty standard party line vote. We try to have too many of these, but at the same time, there is that difference between the Democrats and the Republicans. So we put that one on there. It seems like a pretty important one. 6108, raise the age to buy tobacco. And, again, some of you out there might disagree with us on this one. I'm of the opinion that an adult should have full rights of adults, period. Once you are the age of majority, there should be no age discrimination saying so-and-so is not allowed to buy a handgun or buy alcohol or buy tobacco. You're an adult. You have the right to make the decision. If you can go to war, you should be able to do anything any other adult can do.
Right.
So
who was that sponsored by?
Good question. I forget who the actual bill sponsor was. I think it was Tommy Brand. I can look it up. Let's see here. Michigan Votes is a great resource for this. What's the bill? 6108.
Mm-hmm.
Tommy Brand. Yeah, that's right. I think I've talked about him on this show before. That Tommy Brand's a guy, when he was a restaurant owner, he did a news conference with Gary Glenn on electric choice, and then as soon as he got to Lansing, started doing everything the utility monopolies wanted.
That's funny.
There's Brand on this list. Minus 330. Yeah, he's a regular go along, get along guy. He's running for state senate now, unopposed in the primary. Great. But he's running against Winnie Brink, so he'll probably lose. So there you go. But who knows? I haven't looked at that district. I'm not sure. What else do we have here? I'll go back to some of the bills that are only in the House, but let me stick with the Senate ones for now. 600 through 603. We scored them all in their own columns, although I could have probably just lumped them together as one package and weighed them at 40, but whatever. Vaccine choice, vaccine freedom, and then there's another one restricting schools' face mask mandates. So different versions of similar things. Health freedom in schools. So 601, for example, requires public schools that impose an epidemic-related face mask mandate, grant waivers. It would also ban districts from requiring school board meeting attendees wear face masks or get COVID tests. And it would ban requiring asymptomatic students to get a COVID test. So a whole bunch of health-related things on each of those four bills. Those all, I think, were voted on in the House and the Senate. Let's see. No, maybe they weren't in the House. No, they got a vote in the Senate and never went anywhere in the House. So no roll call for that.
242.
242. Yeah, this and 245. I don't know why they needed two different bills. We weighted this one heavily too.
This is horrible. This is absolutely horrible.
You want to talk about this one?
Well, yeah, I mean, for Oakland County, right? They just gerrymandered our districts and they moved it from 21 seats down to 19. And if you give them 4-year terms, it's, game over for Oakland County for the next, 10 years, in my opinion. I mean, it still might be game over, but I'm trying my hardest.
Yeah. I mean, it's really all about, protecting incumbents, making it hard to run against them. They only have to run every 4 years. Maybe removing a little competition for state house. I did notice on interesting language in the summary. Instead of the current 2 years concurrent with state representatives. I wonder if that was an issue at play there at all.
Yeah,
But
that's weird.
Yeah, but it passed both chambers, so it was signed into law by the governor. So thanks for nothing, Republicans. Ed McBroom was the sponsor of that one.
But it starts not this year. So this year's 2 years. And so it starts next cycle. So
yeah.
Oof.
And again, so much wrong with our state, and this is the stuff that these guys are going to Lansing do. I mean,
right. That's what I thought about the tobacco one. I'm like, why even waste our breath on that? Like,
yeah, I mean, just imagine 20 years from now, these people will be sitting on their front porch and thinking, yeah, that's what I did during my short time in Lansing. I gave county commissioners less accountability to voters. What these people must think about, I don't know. I don't get it. All right. Now we've got a lot of bills here that are some form of this.
Hey,
subsidies. Subsidies. There's 422. We've got 723. We've got, let's see here. What else do we have? I know there's a bunch more.
435.
Yep. 435. A lot of these bills take the structure of, oh, we'll provide tax breaks for so-and-so, and it's going to make magic happen with the economy and still stimulate things. And their rationalization always is, well, this will make some kind of project happen, and that's going to raise tax money in the long run. And it's like they haven't taken economics 101. This is the broken window fallacy. No, if you don't pay a developer to develop a brownfield, then they're not going to sit around and do nothing. They're going to invest in something else, something that might be profitable without the government's help. So all this stuff is damaging. I mean, this is, again, classic free market economics. You don't have time for a whole lecture on it. Yeah, Daniel Lawless says all picking winners and letting you be the loser. It's the economic theft from the taxpayer. Yeah, that's exactly right. And there's a lot of these. 706, we talked about this one a few weeks ago. Authorize automated vehicle roadways and fees, because that's going to happen, right? They're totally going to tear up 94 from Ann Arbor to Detroit and build lanes for automated vehicles. That's going to totally work, and it totally won't be a complete boondoggle, and it won't destroy the entire traffic environment there. No, it's going to be. I mean, that's another thing with these lawmakers. They're all utopians. They're all fantasize about bringing Michigan into the future, and there's all this garbage. And here we go. 842. This was the higher ed appropriations for the fiscal year 2023 budget. We watched the governor's debates. Oh, I was meant to ask you. You were at that debate. What did you think of it? The debate last Thursday.
Yeah, no. I mean, I was there, but I was volunteering and I did not go in. I've heard them speak so many times that it just, you wanted to have more watch parties on Rescue. And I'm like, oh gosh, to sit through their speaking again and again is just.
Yeah, I was just glad it was only 1 hour, because folks in the chat that watched it on Thursday were like, this is lame. Yeah, they're saying now too, it was very bad.
We have a debate in Oakland County coming up July 27th. So that should be fun. It's going to be, I think a different setup. So
yeah. Anyway, so one of the things that comes up in these debates is like, how are you going to pay for the government if we try to cut taxes? And there's a lot of answers for that. Attrition. Usually the answer they give is some vague. We're going to cut within the departments and find things that were somehow never able to be found before, where we can make cuts. I mean, if you want to make a big cut to the government, why are we giving $300 million a year to University of Michigan?
Right.
They're a completely self-sustaining entity. They have a $50 billion hospital. They don't need any more taxpayer money, but they'll take our taxpayer money, and they get more and more every year. Even in a financial crisis, even in a COVID crisis, we just shovel more and more and more money into U of M. And the way they give it out to the colleges is so unequal too. Like U of M, I think Wayne State's even worse in terms of per pupil funding. Like Wayne State gets $4 for every $1 that Oakland University gets. Whereas, and the other thing is, U of M is full of foreign students, whereas Oakland University is like mostly Michigan students.
Yeah, I went there.
Yeah. All right. Senate Bill 103, create a right to install a high voltage line, because the monopoly utilities don't have enough monopoly already. Now I need to just give them the ability to just say, oh, we're going to dig a high voltage line. Oh, you have property there? Tough shit. Daniel
I
Wallace.
like that. I like how you
What's that?
characterize that. How you characterize that was kind of
Oh
funny.
yeah.
I mean, sad but funny.
Yeah. Daniel Lawless says because lawmakers need tickets to football games. Yeah, that's that is a thing, by the way, folks. I've worked in lawmakers' offices. I've seen the invitations they get to party with the president of the University of Michigan at the Michigan State game in her skybox. That is a nice perk of being a lawmaker, and they love it. Kim Lasada, her entire career has been shoveling money to the universities where her daughter happens to go at U of M. WNC 817 says Oakland is trying to get more and more Chinese students. Yeah, I'm not surprised by that. We tried to help them out when I worked in Riley's office because they were very near to our district, and we went to some campus tours, and all they kept doing was talking about how wonderful and diverse and left wing they are. So at some point, we just lost interest. All right, Senate Bill 888, create a government crypto commission. Here's the thing, folks: these lawmakers are too stupid to understand crypto, and so they need to create a commission to tell them what to think. And I wonder who's going to be on that commission. Well, specified officials, political appointees, industry representatives. They'll be tasked with examining the feasibility, validity, risks, and admissibility, including privacy risks and benefits of using blockchain technology in state and local government and Michigan-based businesses, identifying best practices for enabling blockchain technology and cryptocurrency transactions. Folks, the government is not capable of technology, period. I mean, this happens over and over and over again. I was working in Congress when the Obamacare website came out, which was not only completely non-functional, the media did get that story. It was also completely insecure. The media did not get that story. And then, of course, same thing happened with the Michigan's unemployment website crashing in the middle of COVID. They don't get technology. The people who reach out to the government are these companies that are professional trash. You know, in the Obamacare website's case, they got replaced with Accenture came in with a company with a long history of being late and over budget on all of their government contracts. So surely they were the person to clean up the Obamacare website. What's the name of that company in Lansing that does all the government's work? It's got like an oi sound in it. It sounds like loiter or something like that. Help me out if anyone in the chat knows. Big tech company. Hoitel. I don't know, something like that. Whatever. Anyway, stupid. They are not going to get it right. The free market is the answer, and you don't need to create another commission. If you can't figure it out on your own, then creating a commission to tell you what to think is not going to work. What else do we have here? 5523, authorized supplemental COVID spending. This one I think is going to have very few pluses in it because there's mostly federal money. Yeah, I'm looking at the House column now where my mouse cursor is. And yeah, very few vote no on this just because it's free money from the feds. But what it
we
really
all have
is,
to pay back eventually.
Yeah. And all of it essentially ends up being funding the left. The taxpayers get almost none of this money ever. It goes to all of these government entities. There's another one we have in here somewhere on, I'm not sure if it's in the Senate side or the House side. I think it must be only in the House side. Let me see here. We've got, well, it's here somewhere. To make PPE non-taxed. Yeah, here it is. Personal protective equipment. So we're you know, of all the things to cut the sales tax on, they pick the Branch Covidian industry. Oh yeah, you can get free, no sales tax for masks and face shields and what else? Disinfectant, that kind of stuff. Lame. And there's another bill in here somewhere, which we graded against anyone that voted for, which was to exempt feminine hygiene products from the sales tax.
Yeah,
which is just pandering to the left. I mean, if you want to,
really stupid.
You want to make something exempt from the sales tax, it should be guns and ammunition. Thanks. Do something for the men. I'm just kidding. Guns and ammo are for everybody, folks. That was just a joke. All right.
That was funny. You're really fun. You're on your A game tonight.
All right. Must be the holiday. Connie Wells Wheel says Voya. No, that's one of them. No, Deloitte. That's who I was thinking of. Yeah, Voya does all the 401k stuff. But yeah, Deloitte. That's the company I was trying to think of. WNC 817 says Michigan needs its own public bank. The only public bank in the U.S. is the Bank of North Dakota. The profits from the bank offset taxes, can lend to citizens and businesses. I don't know how I feel about the government getting into the business of banking, honestly. But maybe. I don't know. You might have a point there. Where else were we? Kind of jumping around here. 4631. Patty P says men menstruate. Yeah, I've heard. This one doesn't. Oh yeah, okay. Reduced limit on civil asset forfeiture. So this is an interesting one. The last several terms, they've been really cutting back on civil asset forfeiture abuse, which is good. They've actually done well on that. Which, if you're not familiar with civil asset forfeiture, it's when the government seizes your property before you've been convicted of a crime. You just say, "Oh, this might be bought with drug money," and they'll take your car or your assets. And there's been lots and lots of abuse of that over the years. The Mackinac Center has covered that extensively. This bill rolls that back a little bit. I guess they thought they were doing too much good for a change, so they decided to make an exception to the 2019 law they passed that prohibited government civil asset forfeitures unless the person takes a plea bargain. So in the 2019 law, that would only apply to police seizures of property worth $50,000 or more. This bill lowers it to $20,000 for property seized by public airport authority police. So maybe if it's only by public airport authority police, but that's a fishy thing too. I mean, I guess their assumption is if you've got $20,000, then you therefore must be a drug dealer. I don't know how true that might be. I could imagine taking $20,000 on a flight if I was going somewhere where I wanted to keep my gold with me. But yeah, the government can just seize your stuff, and you have to prove your innocence before you can get it back. So it's wrong in principle. So I don't agree with reducing that limit at all. The bottom line is they shouldn't be able to seize your property until you've been convicted of something. Here's another great one. 871. There is a study being done on the feasibility of toll roads in Michigan, because that's what we want, right? Toll roads. And they didn't get the report done on time, so they put in a bill, I think it might be a law now, to extend the deadline on the study. Because that's, signed by Gretchen Whitmer a month and a half ago. 2 months ago. So, I mean, typical government. The bureaucrats don't get the job done as promised, so we'll just give you an extension. An extension for a project to sell us on toll roads, which I know every time I have to drive on a toll road, I am so grateful we don't have those in Michigan. So there you go. 994, create another government opioid commission, because we need, again, another commission to write another report to tell us the things we've already seen. We already know. I mean, how many of these opioid studies do we have to do? This is in addition to a separate prescription drug and opioid abuse commission in the Department of Licensing and Regulatory Affairs, by the way, which itself replaced an earlier Controlled Substances Advisory Commission and an advisory committee on pain and symptom management. So, I mean, it's just more and more and more. Why do opioids keep coming onto our shores? Can't imagine if it's anything to do with the border, anything to do with Afghanistan. But,
It's really frustrating. I think opioid and any sort of addiction just bothers me because it's, people have to take responsibility for their own actions.
Yeah. I mean, it's a tragic thing. I knew someone that got hooked on them, and it's easy. Especially if you get put on pain medication for something, but people, we gotta be responsible, and that's just kind of the way it is. I also think it's wrong that we call them opioids and not opiates. Like, I know there's a scientific difference, but it just sounds ridiculous. Opioid. It doesn't sound as serious as opiates. We're talking about heroin and fentanyl, folks. Seriously. Don't give it a word that sounds goofy. But I don't know. I'm just ranting into the wind here.
You digress. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
I get it.
4712. Another cash subsidy. This one's a retroactive one. That's great. So and the way they do these stupid bills is they can't say, this goes to what's the guy that Tom Leonard was working for, the Detroit developer. Well, it doesn't matter, but they can't say this goes to so and so. They have to define in the bill such a weird way to basically say this only going to possibly apply to a certain entity.
Mm-hmm.
So this project was already, I guess, in the works, and this will just increase the subsidies the developer will receive, allow for another 5 years to complete the unfinished project. There we go, rewarding failure again. House Fiscal Agency estimates this bill will result in a $12.8 million increase in either foregone state revenues or in actual cash payments to the developer. So there you go, just handing out millions in cash. Dan Gilbert, that's who I was thinking of, the guy Tom Leonard worked for. He steered a lot of this stuff his way. 435, college loan subsidies for certain people in the mental health field. And this is, I think I ranted about this last week. The Republicans always have this predilection for trying to shift, whenever there's a shooting, they'll shift it away from talking about gun stuff with, we just need to fund mental health more. And it's like, I don't think that's going to solve the problem either, because who is the mental health field? They're left-wingers. Almost all of them. I've got several in my family. The psychiatry field, Jordan Peterson talks about this. They are almost unanimously hardcore crazy leftists. And what do the psychiatrists like to do? Put kids on mind-bending drugs. I do not think that this is a productive approach to the problem. The problem is our society's gone crazy, and we have to address issues with teachers. We have to address the issues with social media, mass media, and some things can only be done privately, like restoring communities and getting people going back to church and things like that.
Yeah.
But anyway, Senate Bill 246. Oh, that's just another one. Increased medical related college loan subsidies. That's right, more of the same. 459, deadline extension for another special interest handout. 437, deadline extension for another special interest handout. 562, grant brownfield subsidy to a particular developer. Another corporate subsidy program. Another corporate subsidy program. This just goes on and on. Oh, this is a great one. 671 actually removes a requirement that these brownfield subsidies be shown to result in an overall positive fiscal impact for the state. Yeah, because why in the world would we be handing out cash if we have to require it to do some good? Yeah, let's get rid of that. If we hand out the money, we just want the money to be gone, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let me see how the Mackinac Center put it. Yeah, repeal requirement that corporate subsidy scheme benefit the state's economy. Signed into law by Gretchen Whitmer. Passed overwhelmingly in the House and Senate, Democrats and Republicans. 4842, revised state liquor wholesale rate detail. I wanted to put something on here about the liquor racket, because there's a whole committee in the House and Senate. The Regulatory Reform Committee doesn't reform regulations. It's all about the liquor, and it's about the wholesalers and their monopoly that they have. This particular bill, we probably could have chosen several. This one allows liquor makers to get a higher wholesale price if 40% of the grain they use is grown in Michigan, which is just one of many things that they've been lobbying for. So this is a good opportunity to talk about the buy local scam, because a lot of people have buying local is great for the economy. And there's a free market fallacy here, folks. All you're doing when you're deciding I'm not going to buy from another state or another country is restricting supply. Is effectively all you do. And just makes prices go up. So there's no actual benefit to that. The idea is, well, if we're going to keep the money in Michigan, well, but every other state's doing the same thing, then every other state's hurting itself. That's all that it does. So, just another bad economic idea brought on and lobbied for by the liquor industry, which, by the way, is well connected to, all aspects of manufacturing. So there's that there. And again, it's for a higher wholesale rate, so they get more money too. It's more profit for them. 638, fund social workers some more. Let's just take a look at what that one. Oh yeah, expand behavioral health jail diversion programs. Again, funding the left. This is all these things Republicans do that sound good. Oh, we'll have fewer
jail diversion programs.
Yeah, I'm sure that'll work.
I wonder what that means.
Probably also means a lot more of, well, here, let's see what it says here. Create a segregated state account to hold money for a, quote, behavioral jail health diversion program that would give grants to local governments to expand or establish behavioral health jail diversion programs in coordination between community agencies and law enforcement agencies. Sounds kind of like what the Democrats have been talking about, this defund the police, the school to prison pipeline stuff, and blah, blah, blah. Like, yeah, if we thought these things actually worked, that'd be one thing. But if it's, let's just not put criminals in jail.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Don't, be bad and don't have any consequence.
Yep. Senate Bill 85 authorized more corporate subsidies. I mean, this goes on and on and on with these. It gets tiresome. And finally, on the Senate side, we got a few more in the House to look at. Senate Bill 764, allowing you to deduct gambling losses from your income taxes. Well, that's great, folks, isn't it?
It's just putting up with a lot of bad behavior. Honestly, that's what it's just accepting,
Yeah. Yep. Rewarding bad behavior. Tim Kuhn says it was the ACLU who closed mental hospitals years ago. Interesting. What else do we have here?
Destroy the U.S. Constitution. U.S. Constitution.
Oh, yeah. We should probably talk about that one. I weighed that one pretty heavily, actually. This one didn't get a vote in the House, at least not yet.
Is that what is that? Is that real? What?
Well, let me explain what that means. I do have a little, if you hover your mouse over again, I don't know why it doesn't show up on the stream, but it does show up to me. This is, I think, the dumbest, most dangerous thing that the conservative movement's been pushing for years. I'm very suspicious of who's been funding it. Yeah, Daniel Lawless got it. The Convention of States thing. The Article 5 Convention of States, that they'll convene a constitutional convention that only will be allowed, so don't worry, it'll only be allowed to pass a balanced budget amendment. And there's some disagreement with people on this. For example, people like me and, I don't know, Justice Warren Berger point out that there's absolutely nothing restraining a convention of states once it's been convened. The courts can't stop it. They point to things like the Constitutional Convention of 1787, which was convened under the auspices of, don't worry, we're not going to throw out the Articles of Confederation. We're just going to tweak a few little things here and there. And then, of course, they threw them in the trash and passed the Constitution that gave the national government a whole lot more power. So let me find, I want to actually pull this up. Let me find the what Berger said on the Jews Convention. This is really good. So here's the Chambers of Chief Justice Berger, retired, writing to Phyllis Schlafly in 1983. If you don't know who Phyllis Schlafly is, folks, look her up. She's the matriarch of the conservative movement in America. Passed away just recently. Well, a few years ago now, but anyway. Dear Phyllis, I am glad to respond to your inquiry about a proposed Article 5 Constitutional Convention. That's how long this idea has been kicking around, 40 years now. I have been asked questions about this topic many times during my news conferences and at college meetings since I became chairman of the Commission on the Bicentennial of the U.S. Constitution, and I have repeatedly replied that such a convention would be a grand waste of time. I have also repeatedly given my opinion that there is no effective way to limit or muzzle the actions of a constitutional convention. The convention could make its own rules and set its own agenda. Congress might try to limit the convention to one amendment or to one issue, but there is no way to assure that the convention would obey. After a convention is convened, it will be too late to stop the convention if we don't like its agenda. The meeting in 1787 ignored the limit placed by the Confederation Congress for the sole and express purposes that it was laid out to have. With George Washington as chairman, they were able to deliberate in total secrecy with no press coverage and no leaks. The Constitutional Convention today would be a free-for-all for special interest groups, television coverage, and press speculation. Our 1787 Constitution was referred to by several of its authors as a miracle. Whatever gain might be hoped for from a new constitutional convention could not be worth the risks involved. A new convention could plunge our nation into constitutional confusion and confrontation at every turn, with no assurance that focus would be on the subjects needing attention. I have discouraged the idea for a constitutional convention, and I am glad to see states rescinding their previous resolutions requesting a convention. In these bicentennial years, we should be celebrating its long life, not challenging its very existence. Whatever may need repair on our Constitution can be dealt with by specific amendments. Cordially, Chief Justice Warren Berger. Now, folks, you might disagree with me and Warren Berger, The Constitutional Convention, folks, they have answers for all those things. Here's the thing. If we're right, they will destroy the convention, the Constitution of the United States. And if we're wrong, you get a balanced budget amendment, which might even still not bind Congress, because what are they going to do? Who's going to stop them? The Supreme Court? I say to all you folks, knowing what you know about the mass media, knowing what you know about politicians, and knowing what you know about courts, why in the world would you gamble with this? And again, these are state lawmakers recklessly tampering with the fabric of our entire country. So I gave the bill sponsor, Matt Hall, a -80 for that one, and a -40 for all the co-sponsors. This is not even needs to be shot down and shot down aggressively, because someone's pushing this hard. And this might come back. I think the Koch brothers are the ones that have been pushing it. So yeah, I feel pretty strongly about that one. I also feel pretty strongly about this one, HR 243, condemn Russia in the dumbest possible terms. I had to say that because they, in the resolution, say we condemn Russia in the strongest possible terms. And folks, we should take a look at this. This is written by, it looks like a fourth grader. What am I doing wrong here? HR 243, no? Oh, I put HR. I put HRES. Okay, here it is. Condemn the Russian invasion of Ukraine in the strongest possible terms. This was a voice vote, so there was no roll call, but there was a huge list of sponsors for it, so we can count that as the people supporting it, because they put themselves on record supporting it. This was passed on March 1st, so right after the Russia-Ukraine war first started. And for you folks who don't know, bills in the legislature are drafted by attorneys who are experts at writing laws. The resolutions are not. The resolutions are written by this other group called it's the Research Division of the Legislative Services Bureau, and they are there to answer lawmakers' questions. I think every time we've ever asked them a question, they haven't given us a good answer. They just regurgitate the same things they always give out every time the question on the subject comes up. These guys are lazy people. They're not experts. And you can ask them to write a resolution exactly the way you specify. In this case, clearly, Graham Filler's office said, give me a resolution against Russia. And this is what they came up with. A resolution to condemn the Russian invasion of Ukraine in the strongest possible terms. Whereas on February 24th, 2022, Russian President Vladimir Putin announced a, quote, special military operation, unquote, in Ukraine. Soon after, the Russian military launched a full-scale invasion of its neighbor, including sending troops into the country and bombing major cities. And whereas this unjustified invasion, citation needed, has already caused needless anguish and loss of life. This invasion has been provoked for the last 8 years by NATO and U.S. military buildup in Ukraine. In fact, I think it just came out a few weeks ago. The entire Minsk agreements were just a stalling tactic while Ukraine built up its military. They've been planning for a conflict. They're planning on going after Crimea. They're planning on taking over Donbass. And these people, as if they know anything about global geopolitics and the situation in Ukraine and Russia. No, this is political grandstanding at its worst. The attack on Ukraine is unprovoked and a blatant violation of the Budapest Memorandum, a 1994 agreement between the United States, Russia, and Great Britain. As part of the agreement, Russia committed to, quote, respect the independence and sovereignty and the existing borders of Ukraine, and, quote, to refrain from the threat or use of force against the country. So 1994. So that'd be before we overthrew the Ukrainian government in 2014. Before, like, a lot of other things have happened. We're going back to the 1994 agreement. I mean, and coming from the United States, who break all of our agreements all of the time. It's hilarious. Whereas President Putin has continued to demonstrate a dangerous disregard for international law. You mean like breaking the Minsk agreements that Ukraine did? And a chilling indifference to the unnecessary loss of human life. You mean like we did in Afghanistan and Iraq and Syria? I mean, this is just such hypocrisy. In announcing the invasion, he commented that Russia remains a powerful nuclear state and threatened grave consequences for countries that interfere with Russia's goal. It is vital that we remain united in our condemnation of statements and actions that that portend a global nuclear threat. And I mean, folks, if you guys have been paying attention to the Ukraine situation, I mean, they just lost all of the Luhansk territory. It's now a free country. Although the rumor has it they're thinking about joining into Russia, so we'll see. But yeah, the entirety of Luhansk has now been liberated. And if folks are paying attention, the war is getting worse and worse and worse for the Ukrainians. We just keep shoveling good money after bad. It's so obnoxious. And they had no need to do any of this. They're the state legislature. What do you think they're going to do? Look, resolved by the House of Representatives that we condemn the Russian invasion of Ukraine in the strongest possible terms, and be it further resolved that copies of this resolution be transmitted to the President of the Russian Federation. Putin laughed at this before he threw it in the trash. Right. They made a chuckle about it or something like that.
Such a joke.
Yeah, Daniel Wallace is so glad our Lansing legislature stands up against Russia. I'm sure they had tremendous impact. Yeah, we know how much impact they had. Pure political grandstanding, pure posturing from people that don't have the first slightest clue what they're talking about. So I get offended by that kind of stuff. Anyway, what else we got here? We talked about the feminine hygiene products. Here's one. There's a House bill, ban fetal tissue research from abortions. So we got a little partisan vote on that one there, obviously. What else do we have here? That might be just about it. I think we might have covered all of it.
Look at us.
5131, pay for non-cops in cop shops. I don't know why I decided to phrase it that way. Create state account for public service assistance grants. You create a segregated state account to hold money for state police, may give as grants to police agencies to pay for public service assistance, defined as specially trained, unarmed, and part-time employees of law enforcement agencies with no arrest or criminal enforcement powers. What does that sound like to you guys? Sounds like that police reform stuff the left keeps talking about. I don't know. Maybe that one didn't rise to the level of getting on the list. But, at the same time, it's growing government, growth of government, right. More and more and more, just one thing after another after another. 5975, require guardians ad litem take domestic violence classes. Yeah, because guardians ad litem aren't already like totally dad-hating people. But that's probably a long story for someone who knows more about family courts than me.
I was gonna say I could actually probably talk on that one, but
feel free. Feel free. I'll take a break for a moment. No,
we're good. Well, I mean, yeah, family court in general is just messed up, but I mean, yeah.
For you folks who might not know, Amber's a court reporter, so
yeah,
she's seen some things. I don't know. You think a domestic violence class will make a better informed class of guardians ad litem?
No, I don't.
just wondering. Am I wrong on this? I don't know. I was just going by intuition.
Because, they're lawyers and they have to take, all the schooling that they have already doesn't help them. So one more class.
Yeah. What else do we have here? 6124. Yeah. So this one was kind of controversial among Republicans. And I'm standing by my statement on this. What the bill is, my headphones are falling off here. What the bill is supposed to do, the thinking behind this, it's supposed to be a Republican thinking bill, which is that a lot of the times the Democrats in elections just pull in people off the street to be quote unquote poll challengers, and they're really just hired heavies. The idea is that this way they wouldn't be able to do that. They have to take a class first. I am not of the opinion that it's a good idea to require every poll challenger have to take a class with a curriculum written by Jocelyn Benson before they go to the polls.
Right.
I think being a poll challenger is something that any political party or political organization should be allowed to have their people be poll challengers. And I don't think that putting this on Jocelyn Benson is going to lead to a very good curriculum for them. So,
true story.
So again, feel free to disagree, but I gave people that voted for that one a -10. Here's a great one. 4075, require parking lots use the new handicap space logo. So I don't know if it was signed into law yet or if they're still working at this, but this has been a thing that Bo LaFave was pushing. I don't know why. If you guys don't know, Bo LaFave himself is a handicapped person, which I don't know. You may have heard the old George Carlin rant about how we keep gassing up the language and changing things. Like, what was wrong with calling them cripples? That's what the Bible referred to them as. Jesus healed the cripples. Does calling them handicapped make them any less crippled? Or what's the new word? Disabled? Does that do any good to anybody? Just changing the term change the meaning of it? It's just infantilizing the language. So anyway, I guess other states have done this too, but Lefebvre was pushing for a new handicap logo, because in the handicap logo, the guy is sitting in a wheelchair. So the new handicap logo here, let me see if I can find it here. Let's see here. New handicap logo. Oh, that's the new one. You see the difference? And this one, the guy's going forward. Yeah. So this is a bill to mandate that all of the old handicap signs be replaced with the new handicap signs.
That's so dumb.
It really
Why
is.
don't you just replace them when they need replacing and we can save money?
Yeah. Yep. So there was that one. What else do we have here? 683, 18-year-olds would go to family court for crimes rather than regular adult court. Just, again, the constant infantilization of our country, the dumbing down. Now adult 18-year-olds go to family court for the crimes they commit.
Again, it is accepting bad behavior and just like, oh, because 18-year-olds aren't adults. They want to constantly move up the age of being an adult, whether it's to buy tobacco, but move down the age to vote. It's just sick. These people are sick.
Yeah, I mean, that's you're exactly right. They're slowly, because then 23 will be the new 21.
Yeah.
Well, these 21-year-olds, they just became adults. They're still so stupid. They can't drink yet. And that'll be coming next.
Mm-hmm. It's just codependency in the youth of America. It's just horrendous.
So there you go, folks. That, I think, pretty much summarizes all of the bills we put on our Lawmaker report card. Let us know in the comments if you think there's any other bills that should have been there, if there should have been more emphasis on something else, maybe more election-related bills could have gone on there. But I thought a lot of those were going to just be partisan, and I don't want to give Republicans a free ride on these. You know, if we looked up every single bill that they voted on, the score results might look different. But, you know, it's easy to do the right thing when it's non-controversial, minor, and, you know, any given week, like I said, I worked in Lansing for years. On any given week, you know, Rep. Riley, who I think scored the highest of any lawmaker on this, he got a score of, what did he get? 420. Nice. He voted yes on most bills that come up, because a lot of them are minor stuff, minor and non-controversial. But, you know, I think it's important to highlight how far short they are when it comes to a lot of these really bad little things that they do. And, you know, and frankly, I think about 10% of them scoring above a 0 is about right. So, I don't know, chat, let me know what you guys think. Yeah, I just looked over on Rumble and Mary Henman said Dan Gilbert. I think that was what I said. The developer that Tom Leonard funneled a bunch of tax breaks to. Tim Kuhn says the Supreme Court will rule an election refer in the fall. Election referendum. I'm not sure exactly what that's in response to, Tim. But I don't know. We'll see. I mean, the courts have been really, really bad on everything relating to elections this past couple of years. Mike Mueller got a minus 270 to Stephen Ghostly right there. I've talked about Mike Mueller before. He is Mike Mueller. I was actually showing somebody the other day. I was talking to someone who's running for office, and we, when I worked in the House, they would often have House staffers work on various people's campaigns during election season. They couldn't make us do it, but it was encouraged to do that. So we're out knocking on doors once from Mike Mueller, and his campaign piece actually was the best campaign piece I had ever seen. And as soon as I saw, I knew he was going to win. But unfortunately, a campaign piece is not the same as the candidate, and Mike Mueller has been really, really bad. When COVID hit, he missed the vote on extending the deadline, which all they ever did was show up, check into their desks, and go home. They suspended the rules. They didn't even take a roll call vote, and he didn't even show up to work that day. As did, I think, a dozen other Republicans and 24 Democrats. And the other thing I remember he did when COVID hit, he put in a bill to viciously, severely punish hotels if they were to price gouge, because that was a thing that totally happened during COVID. Let me see if I can find what that bill was. The trick is you gotta go to advanced searches and gotta go to the previous term, because this is in 2020. All those things that we looked at tonight, folks, were in the past year and a half. But some of their records go back farther. So let's say January to maybe July 2020. And I wish I could just, well, so that's not going to work because it's not, this is just the votes. I need the bills introduced. Oh, okay, here we go. Let's see. Yeah, here we go. So he and there's a Democrat that sponsored, I think, these other two bills, 5669 and 5670, but this was his one. Authorized jail, $1 million fine for spiking hotel and lodging prices during emergencies. Introduced St. Patrick's Day 2020, the day after Governor Whitmer imposed the lockdowns. I remember that day clearly because it was the Sunday before St. Patrick's Day, and I thought, I think I want to go out to drink tonight because I think I might not be able to for a while. So I went to my local bar. I actually sat down next to the owner there and was chatting him up for a bit. He's like, yeah, we just hope she doesn't shut us down before St. Patrick's Day because that's our biggest day of the year and we're going to lose so much money. And sure enough, that very next day, March 16th, 2020, she shut down every business in the state. This is what Mike Mueller's response was. Authorized penalties of $10,000 per violation by individuals and $1 million for a business for raising the price on temporary lodging during an emergency by an amount the bill deems as excessive, which could apply to increases as low as 10%. Violation would be a misdemeanor, and the state attorney general, Dana Nessel, would be authorized to file class action lawsuits seeking triple damages from landlords who raise prices. Which, again, folks, don't have time for an economics lecture right now, but every time you impose price controls, you cause shortages. And that's what price gouging actually is. It's the market adapting so that people have access to things that they need to pay for.
Yeah.
But anyway. So that's Mike Mueller for you. Lousy Rhino, too bad. He had a great campaign piece, checked off all the boxes: farmer, military, police officer, business owner, and also, unfortunately, Rhino. So, yep, for Stephen Ghostly says, Dylan Pescarola for state rep. There you go. I hope all of the primary opponents, challengers to the incumbents, find this useful.
Yeah,
Folks,
it's really good.
Being able to say, so-and-so, Sean McGann got a minus 380. Kim Lasada got a minus 200. And our scorecard is hopefully a pretty big number, and a number I would say is richly deserved. So,
Very
all right, guys. Thanks for all tuning in. I don't know if we have any more to talk about tonight. We've been going for more than an hour already, and it is a holiday weekend. So thank you all for joining us tonight. For anyone else who gets to watch the video later, hope you found this informative. Maybe we'll even just put this on the report card page too, so people can check it out. So, Amber, thank you so much for joining us this week. If any folks in the chat have anything else they want to add before we sign off, feel free to do that. Otherwise, I'm not sure what our plan is for this week. I am going to probably do an email soon when we complete our flyer about Peter Meyer and informing the public. And oh yeah, you might have noticed I'm a little more fundraising in our emails this week, kind of like the cold open we had earlier about that. But unlike certain entities like the Democrat Party and the Republican Party, present company accepted, we really do try to spend your support wisely, and that's going to be on beating up some nasty rhinos out there, and Peter Meyer is certainly among them. Obviously, he wasn't on our list here because he's a member of Congress, not the same, and we only did this for all of the state reps and senators. And there's a lot of races coming up, folks. So if you guys can support us, we will spend that informing the public in some of these interesting and exciting races happening right now. So,
and I'll plug a couple events, I guess.
Yes.
On Saturday, July 23rd, we are bringing Scott Pressler into town. So we're going to do a bunch of stuff with Scott Pressler. He's coming in for a Pancakes and Politics event with the 11th Congressional District, and that is on the 23rd. And that money that we get for that event is going to go towards school board candidates, county commission candidates in the 11th that we're going to, hopefully get across the finish line in November. And yeah, we're going to do a huge voter registration, get out the vote as well that weekend, hopefully with the Tom Barrett campaign. And yeah, that's going to be really exciting. Come get lists and literature from the Oakland County Republican Party. I have Michael Warren right here. And he's my favorite person that we need to get across in November. I think it's really important because if he gets on the ballot, it's a 3-3 split on the Court of Appeals. And the Court of Appeals is so important. Our courts are so important that we've negated for forever. And so now we have, the problems we have, I feel, because of the court system.
We've had a lot of really bad judges, and I can certainly think of 3 off the top of my head on the Michigan Court of Appeals over that Lucas Gerhard case. And that's coming up soon, folks. I may know something about the progress on the trial that I'm not at liberty to discuss right now, but as scheduled, the trial is a week from tomorrow. So we'll definitely be covering that as things develop, and you'll be the first to know. So.
Absolutely. Well, everybody folks, have a great weekend. Happy 4th of July.
Thanks again for all you guys do for Liberty. Have a great 4th of July, and we will see you next Sunday night at 9 at the regular time, maybe even sooner. Hey, Steven says, I sent that media form in. Thanks, buddy. All right. Have a great night.